Tell us a little bit about why you decided to run for the North Carolina Senate and what the things you hope to accomplish if you're elected.
Well, basically there are a couple reasons that, I decided to run. One is first of all, you sort of have to feel led to do it. It's sort of a calling that you feel like this is something that I need to do. And that was done after a lot of prayer and thoughtful discussion with other people and encouragement from other people. The second thing, the reason is because basically over the years, based on my experiences, based on things that I've accomplished and done, I felt like I would like to put this service to use for not only my county, but the greater district of Lincoln and Cleveland and even Gaston County. In terms of what I would like to accomplish, really lies primarily in the area of economic development. And I've devoted the last 30-some years of my life to, in some form or fashion, working with economic development, whether it be working with small businesses, working to recruit industries and business, trying to retain companies, or working with the town that I was mayor of to improve the business climate there. That's what I kind of want to help with, and I think I can do a good job.
You have no doubt seen most folks who are registered Republicans in the district have received a mailer that came out authorized by one of your opponents, Senator Curtis' campaign. To read that mailer, you look like a pretty terrible fellow. Higher taxes, higher water rates, higher sewer rates, higher electric rates, higher garbage fees. People in Shelby struggling to get by. And then a quote from Forbes magazine that after you had been mayor, that Shelby was rated as the third most vulnerable city in America.
Yeah. Well, I can address all of those. Whenever you serve as a mayor, and particularly if you have utilities, water, sewer, gas, and electric, which the city of Shelby has all four, by law, each of those utilities has to be run as an enterprise, as a separate, we talk a lot about, we need to run a government like a business. Well, you have to. In this case, you have to run each enterprise individually as a business. So, if you recall, when I was mayor, it was right in the middle of the recession. We had never really fully recovered in Cleveland County, and probably this is true in Lincoln County as well, from NAFTA. Starting around 2001, we basically were having almost monthly or weekly sometimes textile plants closing down. We lost 3,000 jobs within a very short period of time, right around that period, and we were still struggling even as late as 2003. So we never really felt that economic recovery that the rest of the country was going through when I assumed mayor at the time. So what happened was, when you have those utilities and you've got to run them as a business, we buy electricity from the North Carolina Municipal Power Agency, and if their rates go up, then we've got to do a couple things. We've got to either cut back our service, we've got to economize, we've got to absorb it, we've got to pass it on, or we got to kick the can down the road. And we did all of that. Our council struggled mightily with trying to figure out how could we hold on to the services that we've got and try not to try as little impact as we could on the customer. We economized, we found efficiencies, we did every single thing we knew to save money. I hate waste, and we were trying to save every penny that we could, but yet we still were faced with almost annual increases that we were having to receive from the people we buy the power from. So eventually, we had no other choice. Now, some years we just held back and we couldn't do it, or we didn't do it, but that meant the next year we got hit again. Same thing with water and sewer. We've had a very aging infrastructure. We had old pumps. If people are familiar with sewer pumps. They're not good. They were beginning to wear out. They were coming to the end of their line. There were areas that we felt like we could not expand our community economic industrial-wise if we did not install some improvements. So we had to do those kinds of things. The EPA came in and forced us to make upgrades to our water and sewer plants. And so therefore we had to either one, do all of those things again with water and sewer rates. So we didn't have much choice, but we did the very best we could at holding down the rates that we could. Yes, they went up, but we did all of that to try for the best of the citizens.
Okay, now that Forbes magazine article,
Yeah.
calling Shelby the third most vulnerable city in America, that was an article.
It was an article.
In fact, I subscribed to Forbes magazine, so I went back and looked it up, and the date of that was April the 3rd, 2008.
And and again, here you are right in the almost at the very beginning onset of the recession, and we had never fully recovered from, again, NAFTA. So, and I think when I looked at that article years ago, I realized that a lot of what they were doing was basing it sort of on a little bit older information. It was a couple years old, so we were still in. But the fact is, we were working very, very hard with our economic development team and as a city to try to plan to put things in place so that we would overcome that very thing. In fact, if you look, the things that we did at that time, we were able to see. Now we're seeing the benefits of that. We went from the second or third highest crime rate in North Carolina. When I assumed the mayor in 2003, the newspaper article that had come out just prior to that said we were one of the worst crime rates in the state. By the time I left, we were at the lowest rate in 30 years. Just recently, again, continuing some of the policies that we implemented, the programs we began, we're now one of the fourth safest cities in North Carolina. So, we put into place, again, this infrastructure. We could not have built the Foothills Commerce Center. We could not have recruited Clearwater Paper had we not done those kinds of things that had to be done back while I was mayor. We took a risk in starting the Foothills Commerce Center, but it has worked out really well. Clearwater has been a tremendous boost to our area. They needed water, though. They needed lots of water, and we had to make sure they had the capacity for that. One of the things that is, again, failed to kind of not mention, but when I was running for mayor, one of the forums that we sat in on and participated in, one of the questions was, what will you do as mayor when PPG leaves, when they pull out? And at that time, that just struck me, really hit me, and I said, I don't take that premise. I don't think PPG has to leave. I want to find everything that we can do to make sure that we are as friendly to them and that we do everything we know how to keep them. If there's anything the city of Shelby can do, this is a huge employer. There's about 700 jobs at the time. So one of the first things I did after assuming mayor is I talked with the city manager and the utility staff, and I said, we've got to find a way to save PPG. And we met with PPG and we talked to them. We found out what their issues were. Come to find out, one of their big costs, lo and behold, was water for the city of Shelby. They had an outside rate. They weren't in the city limits at that time. So we struck a deal with PPG. We actually flew up to Pittsburgh. They were within weeks, literally, we found out later. They were within a couple of days or weeks of actually making the decision that they were going to close the Shelby plant. Had we not gone up and talked to them and figured out this plan that we came up with, we would have lost them. So we came up with a pretty, I think, very unique plan of where we annexed them. They got a better rate on their water. We allowed them to buy natural gas directly from the gas company rather than through the city of Shelby. We found all kinds of different ways. We worked it around right there so that PPG basically then was able to save about $400,000 or $500,000 a year. The city of Shelby broke even. We didn't lose money, but we didn't make any money. But we kept 700 jobs. And I'm real proud of that. In fact, if you talk to the plant manager at the time, Tim Mathis, he was quoted in the paper and saying, and I don't like to talk about myself, but he said, had it not been for the leadership of Ted Alexander, we would probably not be here now. And so those are the kinds of things that we did. We put in, we did a lot of plans during the time that I was mayor, which you're seeing the result of now, a downtown revitalization master plan. We put that into place. We put in a number of plans that are now coming to fruition, or did come to fruition while I was mayor. We were in desperate need of a new airport. If you went out to our old airport, you just saw an old truck, broken down truck sitting out in the front yard, and the building was built back in the 50s, I think, and was on its last leg. And that was the impression that these executives had when they would, well, if they flew into Shelby, that was the impression they got. And we built a first-class airport. It's now coming in really handy with the Tryon Equestrian Center just down the road. People are finding that that's their airport of choice when they're coming into the area. So, you know, we did a lot of good stuff, and I'm real proud of those things.
Okay. We've talked about the past, now let's talk about the future. If you're elected, what do you see as the issues that will be facing the North Carolina Senate, and what are your plans in going there?
Yeah, well, I think in terms of the district, now we have a good economy. And if you notice all over the place, you know, you'll see now hiring, people are wanted for jobs. Now what we're finding out is the big issue is we have the infrastructure, or at least, you know, you need to always be working on that. But now we need job-ready people. We need workers who are prepared for the job, who know how to do certain skills, and we've got to really put an emphasis and effort with our community college, with our universities, with our high schools. We've really got to be working on encouraging job-prepared workers. And I'll tell you another thing that's real needed. Of course, I was in a generation when I was coming along that you had to go to college, right, in order to get ahead. And that's for some people, and that's great. And I think that that's wonderful. But, you know, there's something about, we talk a lot about trying to keep young people in our communities and keep them here. There's a real need for the trades. If you've ever tried to find a good plumber or a mechanic, or, you know, they're busy. It's hard to get people when you need them. Electricians, heating and air conditioning folks, carpenters. If you're a good one and you do good work, that's a good job. And there's a need for those people. So I think that there's a lot of need for us to put some emphasis on redeveloping the trades, redeveloping apprenticeships and things like that, where these are good, honest paying jobs. You can make good money out of it. It's a good way to keep your young people here in your own community. And to me, that is one of the things that I really want to emphasize and put some effort into. Of course, continuing to reduce state and local taxes and so forth. It's important. We've got to continue to do that as well.
Probably the most important question I can ask. There are 3 candidates in the primary. Why should you be the choice of the vote?
Well, I think, as I said, because of the background in economic development that I've had, because of the experience just the life experiences I've had working in communities and serving other folks. There's a lot to be said about, you know, I'm not good at quoting facts and figures. I'm not really good at that. But there's something to be said about understanding the people in your district and understanding the needs that they have and the issues they have. We talk sometimes about big issues, and there are some big issues that we face as a state and as a country. But sometimes those biggest issues are those that are right in front of somebody's face, those that they need. And if I can help as a state senator to help those people with those kinds of issues that they're facing, I really feel like that would be important. We're going to face continued need to help our agricultural friends, our farmers. There's a lot. We used to be an agricultural friendly state. I don't think that we are agriculturally friendly anymore as much, and I think we need to help those kinds of folks as well. So supporting our law enforcement, our military, our veterans, all the first responders, our teachers. These people are on the front line day to day, and I think we need to support them the very best that we can, and because it's to our benefit as a community, and we need to do that in a way that's efficient and effective, and not wasting money, which I don't like to do.